Hi everyone, and it's Prescott Night, and welcome to my next version of Monday Funday. Um, Sometimes I've been thinking about what these topics are going to be about, and of course, I love talking about stuff that I love talking about. So this is one thing that I'm going to try and get topics that I just enjoy talking forever. I have a few hobbies that I enjoy doing, like cooking or 3D printing or stuff. But last weekend, a week ago, I was Skyping with my mom, and I guess one thing I should explain first. Hi, Mom. This film's for you. But no, I love technical things, and so whenever I read stuff, I like all the technical information. I love knowing how things work, so I have this insane curiosity. When I see something new, I just have to know maybe not everything about it, because usually the people who write lots of things are much smarter than I am. But I at least like to know a little bit of how it works, so that way, if someone ever asks me, I can say, oh yeah, this works like this and like this and like this. And so that's kind of fun to do some things like that. Today we're going to be talking about BitCoins. BitCoins, because my mom and I were talking last week, and she mentioned Bitcoins, and it's one thing because she said that she doesn't understand them at all. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking, wow, Bitcoins aren't really that difficult. I mean, I went to the store the other day and I paid my money and I asked, oh, can I get my change back in Bitcoins? And boom, there it is, nice pretty Bitcoin. And so this, anybody can get these. That's a joke. This is about 3D printing. So this is, I printed a nice Bitcoin so that way I can have it. I don't know if I should sell it. Bitcoin right now is worth about, one Bitcoin is worth about $60,000. And we're gonna talk a little bit about what it is, how it works, not into great detail, but just some of the ideas of how something like this can exist, because everybody knows about it, but it's all black magic for everyone. Okay, first I guess we can start off, what is money? And money is something that, of course, some people might say the world would be a better place if there wasn't any money, and I cannot think of a worse place than a world without money. It wouldn't be bad, it would just be terrible. Because, okay, I do English lessons, and so I would go to the egg farmer, and he would pay for me with, let's say, 100 eggs for 1 hour of English lesson. And then if I want to go buy bacon, I have to tell the bacon guy, the guy who owns pigs, and I'd be like, how many eggs can I pay, or English lessons, because now I have English lessons and eggs. And he says, what I really need is cabbage. And so I would have to go to the cabbage farmer, buy some cabbage either with my eggs or my English lessons, and then go to the pig farmer and pay with cabbage. And so it would just be a nightmare. And then what happens if I have all these eggs that I can't get rid of? And I love eating eggs, but who can eat that many eggs? And so we have money just to be able to make things easier. That someone gives me money for English lessons, then I can give money for eggs or money for bacon and things like this. So money is one of those things that everybody it makes life so much easier. But what is it really worth? I mean, is it real? Money, I live in Poland, so we have zloty and grosz. Right now, one zloty, $1 for those of you in America, $1 is like 3.8 zloty, so it's just under 4 zloty right now. And so, when you get money, you just have the faith that you really believe that if I get paid for my English lesson, that I'm going to be able to go to the store and use this money to buy all the things I need. And I just believe that this is going to happen. So in a sense, all money is kind of virtual, that there's really, in the 70s, I think America went off the gold standard. It used to be every dollar that you had in paper money, the government kept $1 of gold that we had there, gold like my Bitcoin. But this is now probably for the past 50 years, nobody's really had that money is based on anything except the belief that it's worth something. So the fact that a Bitcoin does not exist and it's only virtual and not based on anything really, that's not a big problem, because as long as someone wants to buy something, that's okay. So how did Bitcoins happen? So we know that I hope that makes it a little clearer that all money, in a sense, is virtual. Because all we believe is that, for example, if I buy Polish zloty or American dollars or euros, that just I have faith that the government is going to keep the country around. Because obviously, if the Polish government collapses and they start a new government, then they'll say, oh, all that Polish money, that's not worth anything, and you can't buy your eggs and bacon with it. And so it's just really, you have this idea that the country is going to exist. So Bitcoins. Bitcoins, it's kind of funny. I didn't know this. A few things. I've learned a few things that I didn't know. It all started in 1982. 1982, this guy wrote probably a thesis, because it talks about his dissertation. And he talked about computer systems established, maintained, and trusted by mutually suspicious groups. So it's the idea of how to keep something and maintain something by a group of people that absolutely don't trust each other. And each one of these people will try and steal from the others if they can. And they all know that the other guy will steal just as much as I do. So I want to protect it, and I want to protect it to stop him from stealing. And he probably wants to protect it to stop me from stealing. So everybody's trying to protect something and steal from it at the same time, which sounds like a great way to have a bank. And so the bank has the idea, the bank wants to protect the money. Of course, a bank has the idea that we trust our employees, that they're not going to steal. And here, this whole system was set up that we don't even trust the employees, and so we don't have this. So they decided not to have a bank. There is no one place where a Bitcoin exists. And it goes back, we're going to go into that in just a second. Before I do this, I think, and now this, I was hesitating on this part, because I have a whiteboard at home. I use a whiteboard to explain lots of things. If you ever watch any of my grammar classes, then you see that I love my whiteboard. And sometimes people ask, why do you have a whiteboard at home? Well, because sometimes you just have to explain things and show the math. However, I was decided on this film, and I was thinking about putting my whiteboard right here so I can turn and draw some pictures. But I decided no, because I remember reading a book, A Brief History of Time by Hawking, beautiful book about science. And he even said that he was going to write a book with only one equation. Of course, I think he cheated a little bit, and he just basically made some equations into words, and it would have been much easier to just write the math. But I'm going to try and do this without any equations or without any of the math. But one thing we have to understand is the public key cryptography. Okay, now cryptography is a very old technology. I mean, old like thousands of years old, where people try and hide information and things like this. And so it's the idea of making information safe. Now, recently in the past, I didn't write this down, but recently they've have an idea called public key cryptography. Public key cryptography, or even the more beautiful name, asymmetric cryptography. Asymmetric, which means that it's not the same going both ways. And so what the idea is here, we have two keys. You have a public key and a private key. And basically your public key is public, so everyone can have it. Everyone can go to you can give it out to people. You can make it available publicly. You can publish on the internet, this is my public key. Anyone can have it. So this is a public key. Now your private key, of course, is you private, and you should keep this where nobody can have it. Now, kind of what is a key? A key is a big long string of numbers. And when I say a big long string of numbers, I mean a big, huge, long string of numbers. Something that if I wanted to write, even if I wanted to write it down, it's usually something like 2 to the 256th power. And so this is a number bigger than anything you could ever imagine. And really, if you wanted to do any work with a number this big on paper, it would be impossible to do. For example, to multiply two of these numbers, it would take years of work just working all the time in the math, and you'd probably get a wrong answer. So there's really no point in spending 10 years to multiply two numbers when you know that you'd have to spend the next 10 years checking it, and then you could still never exactly be sure. So these numbers are huge. And so you have these two big, huge numbers, and what you do, a public key, imagine a box that the public key can close the box. Now it can't open it, it can only close it. And so basically someone could put something inside for me, for example. So I give them my public key, they have my public key. They put something in the box, they close it. Now, this box can sit anywhere. I mean, it's a virtual box, right? So this is just information. But imagine a box and then you put it on the street and then everybody looks at this box, people try their keys, and only my private key can open the box. So this is great. I can say, for example, anybody can put something in this box, but only I can see what's inside. So it's like, you know, a bank account. I can give my bank number to someone and they can send me money. So it makes sense that they send me money, but I'm the only one that can take money out. So anyone can put money in, thank you very much, but I'm the only one that can take the money out. So that's this idea of asymmetric plan. It's kind of well known, I mean, but it's never been this, I guess, technological, because this is now completely public. So we have this idea that you can have things closed. You can close something with one key or one code, but you have to open it with something else. So this is fun. So there is this Bitcoin. So back to Bitcoin. Who invented it? And the answer is nobody actually knows. Nobody knows who invented it. We know that Satoshi Nakamoto is either a person or a group of people who invented Bitcoins. And so mostly, and I don't think he exactly invented Bitcoins, he just took the blockchain protocol that the guy invented in 1982. He said, hey, something like this could exist. And so Satoshi took this idea and actually wrote the programs to have it. So how does this kind of work? Well, what we have, Bitcoins are in blockchains. Okay, blockchains. What that means is that there's little blocks and they're all connected with chains. And so each block is connected to the other. And so when you want to add new things, and every block contains information where you have a transaction between two people. So if I want to send Bitcoins to someone else, then our transaction is recorded in the block, and then it gets recorded and it goes from my wallet to his wallet. And we're going to talk about wallets in a couple seconds. And so what happens here and why is this so safe? Well, this blockchain, every block has information from every other block, including the time when it was created and when everything happened. And so each block is very strongly connected to the other block. So I can't go through and, for example, go 100 blocks behind and change something, because then all of a sudden you'll get huge errors and it's impossible to change things because everything is so strongly connected. And one thing, where do these blocks exist? Because, I mean, obviously everything on the internet is on a server, and on a server means that somewhere there's a physical computer that the information has to be there. Well, the blockchains are a bunch of computers that have what they call nodes, and they're all just connected to each other, and they're all working together. And so if I wanted to make my own, let's say, blockchain server, then I just download or write the program. I could write the program myself because all of the information is open, or I could just download it, set it up on my computer, and announce that I'm now also a blockchain server. And so I would have to download all the information. I think it's about like 200 gigabytes right now is all the blockchain information. Yes, all the blockchain information from the first Bitcoin until today. Every transaction is recorded into these blockchains. So I would have to download all of this, and I would have to, then my computer would announce that it's able to help work with the blockchain, and then someone could use my computer to record a transaction, and then it would get sent to the whole network. So where is the network? Everywhere and nowhere. It's completely distributed along the internet. And what happens if I decide that after a month that, hey, I don't like being a blockchain? Well, I just remove it. And then if you take one of the computers out of the system, it still works fine. How many computers are doing this? I don't know. I couldn't find that information. Probably a large number. So adding one or taking one away won't change anything. And so when I make a transaction, then it's announced, of course, it's announced to the whole system, and everybody now updates it, all of their things. And then every 10 minutes or so, the block is closed, they create a new block, and then transactions keep going. As far as I know, Bitcoin, this is around every 10 minutes, everything's copied. As you get more blocks added onto it all the time, then the older blocks become even stronger, because now you would have to change, in order to change, for example, a block 100 blocks ago, you would have to change each one on that. And since it's always increasing, then basically it's pretty much impossible to change blocks that happened. Because it's distributed everywhere, it's possible sometimes, I guess, that there could be differences in the chain, but they have methods to know which one is best. And so then they make corrections, and so the block will correct itself later. I don't know how much this is going to be happening in the future. If this block gets too big, are they going to try and reduce it or something like that? Because it's been going for about, I don't know, 10 years or so, and it looks like it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so the block keeps information along with the time, and this is one of the important things. They use time with the public key to make it really strongly hidden, because you would want to say cryptified. I don't know what the verb would be. You want to make it, you hash it is actually the word that we want to use, that I was trying to avoid. But you use cryptography to hide the time. And of course, the block uses its own private key, so it can check to make sure that the time is good, but nobody else. So we get this big, huge, long number that shows the time that it was added. And so that makes the confirmation, the blockchain includes time, it includes a lot of things. So how do people buy and sell Bitcoins? Now, Bitcoins, whoop, kicked the camera. Bitcoins, you need to have a wallet. Okay, and what is a wallet? A wallet, again, is just an address. It's this big, huge number so that way you can't have duplicates. And so we have this, and as far as I know, it's pretty much just randomized. You can get wallets for free, so you can get them added to your web browser. And so things like this. Your wallet is a big, huge number, and like, you've probably seen the wallets, they're like 80 digits of just random things, lowercase, uppercase, numbers, symbols, everything. When you have your wallet, don't lose your wallet. Whatever you do, don't lose your wallet, because if you lose your wallet, then you lose all your coins. And yes, there have been some things, as far as I know, I haven't heard about it, but one guy has his wallet that he lost the password to, and he has hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoins that he can't access. And I think his wallet, you can make a mistake 10 times, and he's made the mistake 8 times to get his little password to open the wallet. I haven't heard what's happened to him, but this would be a little stressful. You have 2 times to remember, what was that password I chose for my stupid Bitcoins 5 years ago that I didn't think would be worth anything. So your wallet is just a big number that identifies you, big, huge number. Now, when you have a transaction between 2 people, and this confused me at the first because my Bitcoin, they used to be worth very small amounts. And when they started, they were worth almost nothing. Now, 1 Bitcoin is worth $60,000. So not many people would buy a whole Bitcoin, but you buy a small fraction. And I thought first that the fractions were getting kind of confused. But because now if I sell half to you and half to this person, what if this person already had a half? Can he take 2 halves and connect them together to make 1 Bitcoin? Or is every Bitcoin addressed separately? So I learned that no, the Bitcoins really have no address. And so when my wallet is declared to own certain Bitcoins, a certain amount. Now, when I sell Bitcoins to someone else, I can have multiple inputs for the transaction and multiple outputs. So I can take, for example, one Bitcoin, send half a Bitcoin to one person, half a Bitcoin to another person, and that's fine. Also, if I have, for example, two separate Bitcoins in my wallet, I can have, so my wallet takes two separate Bitcoins, sends half to one person, half to another person, and then there's another thing, any extra Bitcoins, as far as I know, I could be wrong on this, but from what I read, any extra Bitcoins are just sent back to me. So it's another output. So every transaction, my wallet has to be completely emptied, but anything left over is just sent back to me. So that's fine. So it's like going and paying for something in the store, and you give them all of the money in your wallet, and they take what they want and give you your own money back. And so for a while, a fraction of a second, your wallet is completely empty. So a Bitcoin transaction is just between two people. You have a wallet, which is a digital idea. Remember that this is just a big number that's used for all the math stuff. And then, so you can send Bitcoins from one person to the other. Now, this is one of the questions that my mom had, is that, okay, so how do Bitcoins exist? Because the number is always growing and people are actually mining Bitcoins. So, because if I wanted to mine, I mean, if this was made out of gold, and then look, it's nice and shiny. If it was made, you have a gold mine, so you dig a big hole, you find gold, and now you have gold. But a Bitcoin is just a concept. It's a virtual money. It's really just like this big number, big, huge number. So how do you mine it? And well, the idea was that because the Bitcoin is a mathematical concept of like a one-way function. And so they have this function that it's very easy to check this number, but it's very difficult to find the number. And so again, I'm trying to think of some ideas. If I want to find a needle in a haystack, it's very easy for me to stand by and have people looking for a needle in a haystack, and someone says, is this a needle? And I say, no, that's a basketball. And if someone looks for them, they say, is this a needle? And I say, no, that's a Barbie doll. Or is this a needle? And I say, no, that's a Volkswagen. And so it's very easy for me to say that, and someone says, is this a needle? Yes, that's a needle. And so finding the needle is very difficult, but judging is this a needle or not is very easy. And so what they have for Bitcoin mining is that you need to find this special number called a nonce, N-O-N-C-E. Nonce, it's kind of a stupid word, but there it is. And this nonce is put into a function, and then if the function comes lower than some kind of difficulty level, then a Bitcoin is created, or a group of Bitcoins. It depends, because they want to make several Bitcoins. And so basically, if you find this special number, then a new Bitcoin, then you have a new Bitcoin, and yes, you get the Bitcoins. Now, the Bitcoins that you get from mining is slowly decreasing. As far as I read, right now we're at about 6.25 Bitcoins. So if you find this number, you get 6.25 Bitcoins. That's about $400,000. Now, in the past, the number was higher. So this number is slowly decreasing. And as far as I know, like a while ago, it was probably 13 Bitcoins. As far as I know, this number halves every once in a while. So you would get 12.5, 25, 50. So 6.25 makes sense that in the past it was much higher. And so some people, when they found this number, they would get 100 Bitcoins. Now this difficulty, this difficulty level is also adjusted because they want new Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes we have new Bitcoins. And that's when they make the new blockchain, add new addresses for the Bitcoins, and then we do it, the blockchain then records the transactions for the next 10 minutes, and then a new blockchain is added with new Bitcoins. And so right now we're getting 6 new Bitcoins every 10 minutes. the difficulty is getting slowly higher and higher and higher. And I think right now, I had a pretty picture, but I lost it. There it is. Hold on a second. Going back even 10 years ago, you would have to go through about 10,000 numbers in order to find a new Bitcoin. And right now, we are at millions, billions, trillions, quadrillions, about 100 quadrillion, or even talked about, because that was last year, so it's probably gotten up to a quintillion times you have to check these numbers before you find something that works to the proper difficulty. Because remember, you want an answer to be less than this amount. And so you've got it's becoming more difficult to mine Bitcoins, and you get less Bitcoins for mining them. So that's kind of funny. As far as I've read right now, if you want, right now, mining Bitcoins, they found out computers aren't very fast, but graphics cards for some reason can work faster. So people who are mining Bitcoins professionally use a bunch of graphics cards connected together to try and find to check these 1 quintillion numbers in the next 10 minutes. And so you have to do lots of calculations, and it's very difficult and takes a lot of time. And what they're finding out, it takes a lot of energy. And I don't think that any single person right now could afford to pay the electricity, because probably to find that Bitcoin, you're going to be paying a lot more in electricity than you are to actually find it. And the worst thing is that it would be stressful work, because you're working for 10 minutes trying to go through 1 quintillion numbers, and then someone else gets it, so then you start again, and then you have to do it all again. And so every 10 minutes you're trying. If you hit the jackpot, then you win big. If you don't, then you just pay a fortune in electricity bills. That I don't think anybody I think right now pretty much only governments can probably afford to pay the electricity for this, unless you live in the middle of the desert and have huge solar panels and can afford that. But then you're going to be paying lots of money to cool these things. So I don't think that we're getting to a strange peak. Of course, I could be wrong, but it seems like we're kind of peaking with finding the Bitcoins, because as it's worth, of course, the value of Bitcoins are going up. So even 6 Bitcoins right now might be worth more than 12 and a half 2 years ago. So people are actually going to be going up. Is there a maximum number of Bitcoins? Yeah, mathematically there's a maximum number of Bitcoins. And right now they're projecting that they will hit this maximum in 120 years. So it's not something we have to worry about. All the time there are new Bitcoins being made. And so that's kind of fun. So they've got new Bitcoins being made, and people are getting them more and more popular. It is kind of funny, because I mentioned what happens if you lose your wallet. And if you lose your wallet, then the Bitcoins are just lost. And if you have on your web browser, for example, you can get an electronic wallet, a Bitcoin wallet on your web browser, just an add-on, and these are usually pretty safe. And what happens if you change your computer and you forget to copy this information? Then they're gone. And so there are estimates how many Bitcoins in the total are just lost and they don't exist. Nobody really knows this. Probably they could check and see some Bitcoins are just inactive. But that's how that works. What's going to happen with Bitcoins in the future? Nobody knows. I mean, we've got something that's theoretically worth as much as people want to pay for it. And right now, the price in the past 3-4 months has been going up. Now, my mom asked about this. She does a lot of investment in the stock market. And usually when bond prices go down, people go to precious metals, gold and silver. Gold and silver often keep their value. And Bitcoin, will it replace gold and silver? Nobody knows. I mean, as long as people are happy buying and selling it, then that's okay. What's going to happen in the future? I mean, it could go like the Dutch tulip craze, and it could disappear. It could be better. It could be worse. Well, I think that's it for today. That's Bitcoins. I hope it was interesting. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.